2024 is done. Wow, was it a whirlwind of a year? Obviously, the presidential election was the biggest news of the year, but I thought I'd take a moment just to reflect on the progress we've made together, the things that we worked on for Oklahoma and our nation in the last 12 months. This year, I traveled across Oklahoma, visiting every corner of our great state, from Guymon to Broken Bow, from Altus to Miami, from Durant to Enid. I've had the privilege of meeting with local Oklahoma leaders, faith leaders, families, workers, small business owners, veterans, rural healthcare providers, just a lot of great Oklahomans. From August to November alone, just those 4 months, I spent over 114 hours just in the car driving around thousands of miles, crisscrossing Oklahoma to hear our concerns, talk about the future of our great state, and ideas to be able to fix our nation's challenges. Let me just tell you a few things we worked on and many things that we got done this year. For small business owners, I fought back against the beneficial ownership rule. Now, you may not know what that is, but it was a little piece that was slipped into a defense bill years ago, and it imposes unnecessary paperwork burdens and penalties on small business owners. If you're a small business owner, you know what it is. Thankfully, a federal judge just at the end of the year halted the implementation, but I've been working to actually get rid of it entirely, including fighting even on the last full day of the Senate session to get rid of it. On the energy front, which is really important to those of us in Oklahoma, I introduced the Promoting Domestic Energy Production Act, which supports Oklahoma's small and mid-sized energy producers by providing tax relief that fosters growth, creates jobs, and strengthens our economy. We fought for pipeline permitting reform to help our natural gas pipelines and others. We fought against the Biden administration's costly electric vehicle mandates. We also got a bill passed that allows the McAllister Army Ammunition Plant to access the natural gas underneath their facility so they can use it for their energy security. This year, we worked to save rural hospitals in Oklahoma, as well as independent pharmacies. Right now, people don't know it unless you're an independent pharmacy, but we're literally losing one independent pharmacy a day across America because of the pharmacy benefit management practices. We've been working to reform that, and we're really close to getting that done. Oklahomans understand the importance of water. That's something we definitely know in Oklahoma. We deserve as a state and as a people clean, safe, and reliable water. I fought for Oklahoma water in the Water Resources Development Act, an act they call WRDA. Those measures that are in that WRDA Act will help communities across Oklahoma upgrade their water infrastructure, secure affordable water sources, and expedite all these critical projects. A few key wins in that project that won and we actually became law increases some of the water studies at Sardis Lake and at Lake Texoma. It reduced the cost for Bartlesville to purchase water from Copan Lake. It accelerated the completion of the West Tulsa Levee project. It expanded infrastructure authorizations for Midwest City and Woodward, and it actually created additional funding for Stillwater's water treatment and delivery facilities. Those things will all help us in the days ahead. We also fought for life. That's a major issue for me and for quite a few Oklahomans. I was repeatedly pushing pro-life legislation, submitting amicus briefs. That's a friend of the court is what that's called. That's a brief to the Supreme Court in cases that handle life. I called out harmful practices, such as demanding answers. After anti-terrorism training conducted at Fort Liberty, North Carolina, it depicted pro-life Americans as terrorists. We called it out and got that stopped. We led the charge to combat anti-Semitism through the Countering Anti-Semitism Act, ensuring Jewish Americans can live their faith freely without fear. We also called out the Department of Education to adopt a clear definition of anti-Semitism to protect students, especially university students across the country, from targeted attacks. This year, I also got the privilege of representing Oklahoma when I traveled to Israel to stand with our ally during one of its most challenging times. I met with families of hostages, Israeli leadership, and I witnessed the resilience of the Israeli people. Israel has a right to defend herself. Back at home, I pushed for something called the Charitable Act. It allows more families to write off their nonprofit donations on their taxes, which encourages more support for nonprofits that help the hurting and the homeless and the hungry in our nation. They're much more efficient than government, but it's a way that we can incentivize more Americans to be able to give more. Those churches and nonprofits are a vital safety net to every Oklahoman. We protected the future of the Mike Monroney Aeronautical Center and the FAA reauthorization bill to make sure that all incoming air traffic controllers in the future are trained at our academy in Oklahoma City. We actually work to honor and support our Oklahoma active duty and our veterans. We're all proud of our military in Oklahoma. Through the Veterans History Project, we preserve the stories of our veterans for future generations to be able to hear those stories. And then we led training to help other offices do the same. We secured crucial funding to upgrade and improve veterans facilities, ensuring they receive the care that they deserve. We also fought for transparency at the VA, advocating for legislation to disclose benefits like home loans and demanding accountability for budget shortfalls, which they had. We also advocated for something called the Judges Act. A lot of folks may not have heard about this, but we have a critical need for additional judges in America. We haven't added new judicial seats in decades. We want to address that in our state. Our state feels it more than many. Because of the McGirt decision that was made, we're short judges in our state, and it puts everyone in every area of the state behind in actually getting justice at the bench. The bill that we brought actually would add 3 additional federal judges in Oklahoma, and it helps make sure justice isn't delayed further for Oklahomans. Most people, they remember one of the biggest battles of this year is one I was directly in the center of. It was our fight to secure our border. I worked to expose the weak processes at our southern border, and I worked across the aisle to force the Biden administration to use their existing authority to close the border and to create a new authority to close the asylum loophole in our law for any future administration. Now that President Trump has been elected, no one doubts that he will use his authority to close the border. But we still need to pass new law to close the asylum loophole. That still needs to be done and will require an act of Congress in the next administration. I went on a farm bill tour around Oklahoma at one point past year. I took Senator Bozeman, who's the ranking member of the Senate Agriculture Committee. We were able to hear directly from Oklahoma farmers and ranchers about their needs, so we can address those needs in the next farm bill. We had an extension of the farm bill at the end of the year, but we've got to get a full, lasting farm bill still into next year. We also worked during this past year to require an investigation into foreign nationals, particularly from China, that are purchasing our farmland. That's a big deal for us in Oklahoma, and that's one we need to resolve not just for us, but for every state. Of course, we ended the year laying out ways that we can stop government waste with the new DOGE caucus. We formed that in the Senate to be able to partner with the House and the new administration to find ways in the year ahead to implement even more of the ideas that you shared with me about ways we can save taxpayer money and that we can be more efficient in government. That's something all of us should be able to be on board with. Efficiency in government is not a partisan issue. It should be an American issue. That's only a small sample of the hundreds of issues that we worked on this year legislatively, and literally thousands of things that we did in constituent casework, taking care of individual Oklahomans in so many different ways. As we look ahead, I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve Oklahoma and to fight for our values. From my family to yours, Happy New Year, and God bless Oklahoma.